this is something that we've referenced before on a couple episodes, and but I wanted to do a real deep dive on because you got a lot of attention from a recent post on LinkedIn and on the blog that you wrote. And it's about why AI will disrupt marketing agencies. And really in it, you said, quote, artificial intelligence is going to disrupt a lot of marketing agencies in 2023. Some will seize the opportunity and create enormous value for themselves and their clients, while many will be obsoleted. These laggards won't die off overnight, but their relevance and value will quickly fade, and their clients and people will move on. Now, I saw tons and tons of comments that were, discussing various aspects of the full post, which we'll get into. But I wanted to start off by asking you kind of what was your motivation for writing a post that kind of details how AI is going to disrupt the agency model?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who knows my background knows I ran an agency. My first book was the marketing agency Blueprint. We were HubSpot's first partner. I sold the agency in 2021, but I spent 16 years of my life building my own agency. I spent 5 years before that working in an agency. It's all I do. So I have 21 years in the agency world. So all of this comes from a place of love and of respect because many of my friends still run agencies. Like I'm still involved to a degree in our agency, as an advisor to the agency. Um, I think with ChatGPT and just the advancements in generative AI and the move into the creative realm, I know that most agencies aren't ready because we know them, and I think the horizon for their ability to figure this stuff out and shift their services, their business models, has dramatically shortened in the last 6 weeks.
Hmm.
So while they might have gotten away with not being AI emergent um, to start 2022, I don't see that as an option anymore. I think AI emergent is an imperative, and I don't know that they're taking it seriously enough. Like I
Hmm.
don't, and so you and I have talked about this before. Like I always with AI have tried to avoid fear as a motivating factor to get anyone to do anything, even hand a free class, like read the book. I don't, whatever. We didn't want to use fear. But what I came to believe was the urgency was critical. And there's people I care about that run companies. There's a lot of people I care about that work at companies, that agencies. And I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble a lot faster than they believe if they don't figure this stuff out very quickly. And that's why in the post, I just outlined 3 things. Like, I mean, I could have made a list of 20 things, but I think I said creative, billing, and innovation maybe were the 3 key
Yes.
areas.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
creativity, billing models, and innovation are you said you would focus on these few key areas to get started understanding how this is going to change.
hmm Yeah, and I think it's again, it's a logical place, and I believe the kind of the example I gave was like if you're charging hourly rates, which a lot of these agencies still do, which blows my mind. But if you're charging hourly rates for creative work, how? Like, what is the financial model that works now? Like, you got obsoleted in like a day. Like ChatGPT changed it
Mhm.
because now everyone was aware they could get content at a reasonable price. Even you, not saying it writes it for you and you're done. Like human in the loop still need to be there. Still need writers, editors. Need to fine tune whatever the machine outputs. Like I'm not saying it's replaces writers, but you and I do this. Like every podcast episode, we turn into 3 blog posts. And how long? Okay. So we'll walk people through our workflow. Let's say we were paying an agency to do this. You and I get on a podcast. We talk for an hour. You spend an hour probably prepping for it. So there's 2 hours, combine
Yeah.
our time, 3 hours in to record the podcast. Then it gets transcribed by the AI. Then you take it, if I'm not mistaken, and we turn it into 3 blog posts. We split it
Yep.
up into 3 different posts, which we use the transcriptions for. And then I think, if I don't know if we talked about this, but you started actually using ChatGPT to do summarization of the transcriptions to help with the creation of the blog posts. So podcast, 3 blog posts, which as an agency, we used to charge like $700 to $1,000 per blog post to create.
Mhm.
How long do you think it takes us to create the podcast that gets published, the 3 blog posts, and I guess I mean, we could throw in social shit. We could throw in all the other
Yep.
things we use AI for, but like let's just say those three components: 3 blog
Yeah,
posts and a
probably
podcast,
I'd probably say overall, yeah, 10 hours,
10 hours total.
with recording, production, and then the writing of the posts and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. What would an agency charge us? Do you think if we had
For all
them
the
same level of outputs?
Honestly,
transcriptions, 3 blog posts, like
my conservative
thousands,
estimate would be, yeah, probably like 2 grand, 2,500
2, 3
all
grand.
in,
Yeah.
minimum all in
Well,
for
we would have charged
basic
if a
stuff.
client
Yeah.
came to us and said, "Can you turn this into 3 blog posts?" And before we had these writing tools. So
So
now my
that,
question is like, if you were the agency that you were we were paying an agency $3,000, let's say, to turn each podcast we record into 3 pieces of content, get it online, distribute to the channel, whatever. Um, and we knew what's possible now. Would we still pay the agency $3,000? Hell no.
not a
I'd be
chance.
like, you could do this job in like an hour, whatever it is, like 1,000 max. Like,
Right.
so that's my debate right now is like, as soon as the market figures all this out, as soon as your clients, like the directors, VPs, CMOs, like the people who hire you, once they understand what AI is capable of doing, there is no way in hell they're paying your traditional rates to be inefficient to do the stuff with all humans. Not going to happen. And that's where I think, like in design, in video, in language generation, content creation, all of it. So anything that creative touches, advertising, social media, we as business leaders, marketers, we're going to know you can do it more efficiently than you were doing it before. You cannot charge us what you were charging us before. You can
That's a,
create 3 times the output at the same cost if you'd like, but I'm not paying you the same fees because I know the tools got smarter and therefore you should have gotten more efficient. If you didn't get more efficient, that's your fault. I'll go hire my own writer or find an agency that did. So that's where I realized, like, oh, they're screwed. Like, it happens so fast. Again, over time, and then all of a sudden, or whatever the saying is,
yeah.
that's what happened to agencies. And so that's why I said, like, you got to figure out your billing model fast, your financial model. You got to figure out how to infuse this in your creativity. And then you got to get ahead of this. Like, what's the innovative thing you can do? How can you use these tools in ways other agencies are thinking about and seize the opportunity to build massive value for yourself and your clients rather than just being scared and thinking it's just another disruption, like pick whatever people use as an excuse for, like, we've been through this before. No, you haven't. You've been through
Right.
nothing like this before. Unless you ran an agency when the internet came around, you've been through nothing like this before. So don't use that as an excuse that it's just another disruption and we deal with this all the time. No, you don't.
Yeah. It really does seem like the fundamental economics of the business have now changed. And that so you mentioned one thing just here that I wanted to maybe dig in on. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you said, "Hey,
Mm.
how do agencies get ahead of this?" And that's where I keep coming back to that question of, if all this stuff we just mentioned is no longer worth paying the rate you expect for, or even hiring an agency in the first place, what are some areas where agencies might start to think about creating new types of value?
I mean, I think about what are you paid for? You're usually not paid to create a bunch of outputs of blog posts. You're paid to make an impact on a business, to create
Mm.
value for a company, to drive their growth, to build their brand. Like, what is the thing you're being paid to do? And then I would look very seriously at, like, how do we do that moving forward? Like, what are the ways to enhance what we already do? And what is AI opening the possibility for us to get involved in that maybe we didn't even do before? Where can we move into? Can we use our knowledge of language models and how they work in marketing to advise their sales team? Maybe you were never in on the sales side. Maybe you can go in and teach HR some of this stuff. Like, you might be able to expand if you think of yourself as a growth firm or, like, somebody's there to really build value for that company. I would just take a different look at what is it that we can do that can create value for them, knowing the economy we're in and that many businesses are struggling and having to lay off workforces and knowledge work. And there's lots of different variables right now to running an agency without even factoring in the AI side. But I would just look at that and say, how do we do this better? How do we create value in a very unique way? Maybe it's vertical specific. Like, maybe you're just really good at applying these models to, like, financial services or manufacturing, whatever it is you do is fine. Go find the smarter tool being built. Like, that's one thing. And say, like, if you're a verticalized company, let's say we do manufacturing, I would go right now and find the AI tools being built specific for manufacturing companies.
Yep.
Go, like, that's how we built PR 2020. We were HubSpot's first partner. We
Yep.
just saw the vision of HubSpot, believed in what Dharmesh and Brian were doing. And we said, well, let's build an inbound marketing agency. Let's build around HubSpot software and we can help drive growth for clients. I would do that right now. Like, who's the next HubSpot in your space? Like,
Mm.
what is the AI native company being built that you could potentially become a value added reseller for, that you could introduce to your clients and say, hey, you didn't have this ability before today. We now have this AI tool that does X, Y, and Z. We can do this for you. It's something maybe they haven't even thought about doing before.
Yeah, and it also strikes me that it's a less sexy opportunity, but every agency should be looking to use these tools to cut costs internally, for
100%.
admin or thing, not get rid of people, but for all the stuff that's distracting you from figuring these problems out. Like there's probably very few, admin aspects at a smaller agency, at least, that can't at least be augmented in part and dramatically sped up by these tools. I mean, we just even talked about the podcast. If you're doing that for your own marketing at your agency, there's ways to dramatically simplify and streamline the process with AI.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, like the consulting stuff we're doing, and the whole premise is to like build these AI roadmaps. Well, I'm actually working on building one for the institute. I would be doing the same thing if I was running an agency. And what I would be looking at is like, how do we make every component of the business smarter? Marketing, sales, service. I would look at my operations. I would look at my client services. I would look. So if I was running an agency, I would sit down and say, okay, what's the next 3 to 5 years look like? And how do I start project by project to infuse AI into this business? I'm probably going to start in an agency with my services. What are the core services we offer? How is AI affecting those today? And I would then work backwards from those services because that's where the money's coming.
Mm.
Simultaneously, you're looking at the billing model, you're looking at creativity, you're looking at talent, you're looking at upskilling, reskilling your team. Because if AI is going to be a key component of the services, you got to think about professional development and hiring. There's a lot of moving pieces. I don't like. It's not going to be easy. I'm not saying like you just AI is going to fix all of this, but you have no other choice. Like
Mhm.
you just have to build a smarter business.
Yeah, I think the professional development piece stuck out to me. Obviously, we have talked about how we sell our own course that is piloting AI for marketers. But really, what strikes me from our journey over the last 5, 6 years trying to figure this stuff out, I was really proud of us at the beginning, on the agency side, having like a regular book club and stuff for
Yeah.
these topics. That's all great. And there's nothing wrong with that. But given how breathtakingly fast things are moving, you need to hit the gas. This probably isn't like a, hey, we're all going to read an AI book every three
Right.
months anymore to get to solving this now.
Yeah. And I think that's, with the piloting AI series, like that's what we designed it as. You can do that entire class in 8 hours. You can
Yeah.
speed it up and do it in 6. And if I was running the agency, I would probably look at the next month and say, okay, as a team, everyone is going to go through and complete the series. They have to complete it by X date. And then we are going to have a half day all hands meeting. And we're going to go through the use case model together. We're going to do the problem based model together. And we are going to come out of January with a preliminary idea of what we're doing in 2023 for this.
Mm,
And I would involve everyone in that. This is not the CEO of a company, agency, brand, whatever, just dictates to everyone, here's what you're going to do. You have no idea what they do for their job. Like, you don't know all the tactical things these people are doing every day to create the output. So the people who are actually doing the work need to be part of this process. They need to
mm,
think about, well, I'm the one in charge of the podcast and I spend 20 hours a month doing these 12 things. Like, I think what they're saying with AI after taking these courses or whatever is that I can find some tools to cut this in half. Like, that'd be huge. I should recommend that to my team.
mm.
So that can surface in that, like run an internal AI summit, like bring everybody together, get ideas from all across the table. So, okay, let's start here, here, and here so we can save the most money or most time next month. So, yeah, I think the thing we always like hammer home to everyone is you can do this pretty quickly. Like, you don't need to go back to school to learn this. You
Yeah.
don't need to be a data scientist. You don't need to be tech savvy, even. You just have to understand what it's capable of doing and what you do for a living, like what your tactical work is every day, and then find smarter ways to do it. You can make progress in a week. Like, it is not a quarter, a year. Like, you can start right away.
That's awesome. And yeah, I think especially too with some of the comments on your initial LinkedIn post, I was curious to maybe end our discussion of this topic with one final question, which is there are still some agency owners and agency executives out there who it seems like are skeptical still that AI is going to be more than a flash in the pan, be more than just buzz or hype. What do you say to them when you hear that kind of skepticism?
I mean, I understood it. We've been at this for a long time talking about AI. And, I've heard a lot of that stuff through the years. And I think I I get it. Like, I could understand it previously because prior to the middle of 2022, there weren't really tools where if someone said, you're just so full. Like, it's not going to be that big of an impact. I think you're overhyping it. I could say, listen, just go try the tool. I'd be like, no, like here's what's going to happen. Here's what these people are saying, and these people are saying, and this is what we're seeing. Like it's developing. Now I just don't think there's any excuse for it. Like I think if someone's making that case, you either haven't tested the tools yourself and seen it, or you just don't want to believe it. No matter what you do,
Mm.
you have locked into your position that it's just not that big of a deal. And we've seen this all before. And, we're over exaggerating what's going to happen. So I think you either, I I don't know, naive might be the best word I can use. It's just kind of naive to what's about to happen, maybe because you didn't try it yourself and see,
Mhm.
or you're never going to be convinced. I really don't know how you could look at image generation, look at language generation tools, play with them yourself, create these outputs on single prompts for free or $15 a month, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and not see a complete disruption of creativity. Every aspect of creativity and communications being reinvented before our eyes. I really don't understand how you couldn't arrive at that perspective. And I'm a very open-minded person. Like I'm the first to admit if I have no clue about something or like aren't that confident in it. I just don't know how you arrive at that perspective. I don't know what arguments you could stand on to believe that.
Yep.
But people believe a lot of things and they have their reasons for it. And my position, I was like, I totally respect that position. I just hope people don't take your advice. Like it's cool, but I would just I always what I always say is take experience it for yourself and come to your own conclusion. Don't listen to me, don't listen to some other thought leader, author, speaker, whatever. Synthesize knowledge, listen to multiple sources, multiple people, experience things for yourselves, arrive at your own conclusion. It's the best advice I can give about life in general. So certainly do that with AI. And if you come to the conclusion it's not a big deal and it's not going to affect your career and your business, great. Like,
That's
I don't know.
awesome.
I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. And
We've
and, you know,
done
we
done the best we can.
we've talked about this a little too. It's, unfortunately, because of how popular a traffic topic ChatGPT is, we're now seeing 10 times the amount of people suddenly have an opinion on this,
The
and the
overnight
topic of
AI
AI.
experts, I like to
Yeah.
call them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The overnight AI experts have definitely sprung up, so if you are going to experiment with the technology and try to learn more about it, just beware of who you're listening to, I would say. Just make sure
Yeah. And
they
just,
have the credibility.
it's an important point. Like, don't confuse AI with ChatGPT as like that's what AI is.
Right.
I think that's what I've seen more than anything is a lot of people talking very authoritatively about AI who played around with ChatGPT
Mhm.
and don't even really understand how the language model underlying ChatGPT works. Like they just did it. They created some prompts, they created some cool things, and now they think they understand AI and can advise everyone else about AI.
Mm.
That's what I would be very cautious of is that someone can appear to have a lot of expertise in a very specific area of AI. That doesn't cut it. You need a depth of understanding of this technology and what it's capable of doing, which again, you can learn in like 8 hours. Like you can learn it fast, but a lot of the people spouting off about Chat GPT right now haven't even taken the time to understand what AI really is. And I worry that too many people are going to listen to and follow
Mm.
those people, and we're going to get a bunch of misinformed people at what is the optimal moment. Like this is what we've needed is that one watershed inflection moment where everyone all of a sudden was paying attention to AI. We have to seize that and
Yeah.
create people who truly comprehend it. And I think it's just going to take a lot of, I don't know, a lot more work to make sure that that's where the end. That's where we end.
For sure.